Hello, you're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. Because it's more fun to believe. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to another experience of Me and Paranormal You. I got Karen Rontowski coming up. Real quick, before we get into what might be the fastest 40 minutes of your life, whenever, Karen and I had limited time today, but we wanted to get a chat in. It's always fun to catch up with Karen. And Karen, you love Karen. These are the laws, the immutable laws of the universe, that if you know Karen Rontowski, you'll love Karen Rontowski. So, very excited to share that chat with you. Before we get going, I just wanted to give you a reminder that if you are a patron of the Mindcast over at patreon.com/Ryan Singer, you can listen to these episodes free of advertisements, meaning, I love being on Spreaker, the new platform that we joined a handful of months ago, but if you are a patron, you do get the ad-free episodes. I'm pretty sure I've made it so you have to be at the $3 level. $3 a month, no ads. Are you serious? What a great deal. So I appreciate you over at the patrons. I know the uploading of episodes have been somewhat sporadic lately. I have been traveling so much. I have been away from home for so long, it seems like, that, and then I left my gear. Anyway, you don't need to know about the things. I'm a little absent-minded sometimes. So, but I'm very excited about some of the topics and some of the guests that we got coming up on the Mindcast. I'm excited as all heck to share those with you. So, and if you want to listen to those without interruptions, without ads, you go to patreon.com/Ryan Singer and you become a patron. I've got a bunch of photos up over there and some video that I've uploaded from my recent trip to Point Pleasant, West Virginia with Dave Stone, when we went to the TNT area and we were in the igloos. We were at the Mothman Museum, just all around Point Pleasant, one of the cutest towns you'll ever go to in your entire life, inside the upper 48 of the United States. So just wanted to drop in and give you that little message. Also, I've got updates coming very, very soon about Ryan Singer, The Supernatural, which is the name of the comedy special that we filmed last October. It will be coming out this October at some point this October. I'll have more information about that as soon as I have it, but I'm very, very excited about all of that. So I'll be letting you know where you can find that. If you haven't followed me on the social medias, what do they say? What do the kids say? Smash the follow button on all that good stuff. Anyway, I love you. I hope you enjoy this chat with the one, the only, Karen Rontowski. And, I've got updates coming very soon about Florida and other things as well. I love you. I hope you love yourself. Let's get into the chat, shall we? After a quick word from some sponsors. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another experience of Me and Paranormal. What is the name of this show? I think it's called Me and Paranormal You. Although I just did exactly the thing that every host of a comedy show has ever done for 8 years, trying to mention the podcast before they bring me on stage. No one ever. It's always me. It's always Paranormal Me, you, or it's you and Paranormal You. Anyway, I've got Karen Rontowski back in the house today. Hey, Karen.
Hello, my friend. They get mine is Paranormal Karen. That couldn't be easier. They also screw that up. I think they're afraid of that word.
I think the word paranormal is, it is a tongue twister. For people who don't ever talk about it, and obviously for people who even are saying that word constantly, like me today. This is a little earlier for me. You are a morning person, right?
Yes, I am. In fact, I wish I was a little, for some reason, when I was in LA, I was getting up at like 6 a.m. or something. And I wish I could get on that again, because that eliminates the whole insomnia problem. That's how I started that. That's how I started going to yoga. But yeah, I prefer to be up earlier.
Oh, I didn't know this. That you suffer from insomnia.
Not really bad, but when I get up early like that, or I can get on a schedule, it's okay. Like everything right now is actually pretty good, but I'm just getting over COVID, so I'm sleeping like the dead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wonder because I mean, I just cannot for the life of me fall asleep before 3 o'clock in the morning for some reason.
Oh my
It's
God, that would kill me.
it's like, I mean, I went to a baseball game last night with my dad and a couple uncles. We had a really good time. Um, I actually started exercising yesterday for the first time in months. And so I had like a big day by my standards, as I'm visiting here in Ohio right now. And then I was just exhausted. And then I got home and I'm like, I'm still up for another 4.5 hours. I'm just like, I'm not sure what it is. The nighttime is when I'm like, my body's like, this is when we're alive. This is when we thrive in the night. I think I am definitely a creature of the nighttime. But oh, I have a topic. I know you and I, whenever we do this or your Paranormal Karen show, like we never really plan much because we're like, well,
Mhm.
I'm sure we're going to get off on a tangent anyway. But one idea I was thinking about yesterday was the like the personal evolution of what it means or the means to investigate, or like the driving force behind the curiosity that keeps you going in the world of the paranormal. I mean, because I mean, burnout is a very real thing in
Mhm.
every aspect of life. I think you and I have both probably experienced periods of burnout in stand-up comedy before, and some people might be like, how could you ever get burned out in something that's so fun? And it's like, well, because when it's everything and all you do for years, eventually you're going to have, even if it's just for a month or two, a period of burnout, right? So
And they're just seeing the fun part, which is maybe telling the jokes and getting the laughs and the whole lifestyle and everything that goes with it, and the travel and the packing and the long days. That's the part to me that I just, it makes me. Now it's not a worry. Now I kind of have my life pretty well in balance, but yeah, you can get burnt out on anything. And it's funny that you say that about the investigating, because I do think that it can end up being like, if people don't realize how much, well, probably your audience does, how much investigating is just sitting around. But it's so interesting to me that right now it's really exciting again. Like when you had me to Posttown. So sorry about the cars in the back. And wherever I go, I think a motorcycle gang moves with me. Think they came to Utica from LA and they're waiting for me to go to Nashville. They're packed. Um, but Post Town was that added extra element. You can sit in a house all day and get EVPs and stuff like that. But Post Town was like explosive as for, I don't even know what was in there. I don't even know. There was so much that was so interesting, and it was an experience more so than an investigation.
yeah, I mean, it was that way for me too. And and I've been back and you've been back to Postdown since last October, almost a year ago. And I'm in Ohio right now. I should call Daryl and see about going down there in the next, short time. But it is one of those things where it is an invigorating, exciting location. I mean, I think maybe part of it too is because it is so big that there's so many different nooks and crannies that, like, oh my god, we haven't spent any time in here, and this room feels really strange all of a sudden too.
Well, you know what it holds, that again, I don't even know, I'm not even sure what we were looking for. The because it I don't think we were looking for human spirits. And this is what's happening. And this is sort of why, I have to dig into that show, The Skinwalker Ranch. It's 29 guys looking for a Native American demon. Can't Too afraid to have a female on the team. That's the whole show, is 30 men running around. No women. No one's mentioning that. But I feel like that everything now is getting bigger. So I moved here to Utica, New York, and wherever you go, people tell you your ghost stories. On my Patreon, I have a special podcast now called What's Going On in Utica, because people started telling me their stories here, and they were not regular ghost stories. They were not even close. Realtors are sending me pictures of walls that are bleeding, that they're going to take me to those houses that they can't sell. Like, I think the experience has become, I mean, I guess it was that general sort of, is there a spirit here? Is there someone to communicate? I think that just exploded. And I feel like Posttown has me now, because this is so like egotistical. Like, when I walked in the second time on the one of those on the shack hack the other guy had, they immediately said, "Hi, Karen," and I was like, "Oh, you got me."
Yeah. The
No, I'm in.
personalized, it's like the personalized customers, the spiritual customer service at Posttown
Yes.
is beyond is beyond reproach. It's like, oh wow, you can like you hear that about people, like people who can remember someone's name they haven't seen in 5 years, and it makes the person feel special when that happens.
Hmm.
And so, Posttown did that to you and made you, yeah,
Yes.
that's really funny. um it is. And I think the point is, like, too, like, I don't know if Posttown potentially could do that to everybody, but it does seem like there's something about, whatever's going on there, that it individually finds a way to, suck everybody in. I think it hits whatever your button is, Posttown's going to find it, and they're going to push it,
Hmm.
and it's going to push it for you. um so is it like things like that, like these new experiences, or the difference in whether it's ghost stories from like Utica compared to other stories that you're hearing, that continue to like stoke the fire inside of you as far as curiosity and inquisitiveness goes?
Yeah, and you know what else I feel like even with my tarot and everything, I've been watching a lot of this Carolyn Miss. She's a medical medium, and I think this encapsulates everything that's going on, and why I think that everything stepped up a minute. Oh, there's a lot of traffic. I really apologize. That
Well,
is
I don't
terrible.
I don't really hear it
Oh, good.
that
Okay, okay.
that loudly at all. So don't fret.
Okay, good. So, she was saying how the Egyptians were energetic people that became 3D dense people. That was their evolution. And now we're going the opposite. We're going from 3D dense people to energetic people. I feel that in the readings, I feel that in the people I meet, and I definitely feel that, like, I never remember when I first started believing, not that I didn't believe, but we were really just looking for spirits. Are you here? Are you this or that? But it's expanded so much. Like, even when we did go to Post Town, we were outside. We were, that crazy machine Eric had, that experience I had where the things were talking to Sonia later. All that stuff is almost like I feel like the lid kind of got taken off. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's almost like those, that prank can of worms or snakes or whatever that used to be a thing back in the day. It's like a
Yes.
Pringles can, and then you open it and 20 different foam snakes pop out. You're like, oh shit, I didn't realize there was all this in here. Um,
Yeah.
Even though it's like I should have known. I've seen this can before. But yeah, for me it is a thing where it's the crossing of boundaries, I think, that really it is exciting for me. Um, when it comes to the intermingling of paranormal phenomena, which, um, I don't know, it is one of those things where it's like, well, if you set out to very specifically see something, like Post Town was the whole idea of the project was trying to do the CE5 alien protocols inside a haunted school to show that all this stuff works no matter what you're looking for. Like, are you going to get that? Are you going to find everything that you experience and put it into that, you know, prefabricated box of the thing you're trying to find? But I don't know. I mean, I guess that's unavoidable to some degree to do that with anything, right?
Hmm. And it feels like, I mean, I am originally from the East Coast, but then being out here is as the same with Posttown out here in Utica. So there was the Underground Railroad. Then it was the Utica was the place where the mob would retire, just tons of mob killings. Like then you go on top of certain Revolutionary War battles and knocking the Native Americans off the land. And it's layers upon layers of crazy dark history that just leads to more, like I said, this is, if you're still in a house just looking to see if the guy that died there last year is still around, have fun with it. But there's a whole world out there now that's just beyond explanation.
Yeah, and I mean, there's this TED talk that I watched years ago by this guy named Kevin Kelly, and it's about evolution. And he says evolution tends towards specialization, meaning
Mm.
the more something evolves, the more specialized it gets, obviously. Like, I mean, I think stand-up comedy is a good example of that. I mean, 60, 70 years ago, there used to just be stand-up comedy. Now there's alt comedy, there's all political, there's all these different types of stand-up comedy, right? And I think you could say the same, you could see that play out in music and also through like, you know, actual biology. But it seems like, and I'm saying this without thinking it through, so it could be totally backwards, but it seems like the investigation of the paranormal is going the opposite way, which it seems like it's going to generalization as opposed to specialization. It seems like it started with a very specialized and a very specific thing, like we want to talk to ghosts, right? Even though it's
Mhm.
interesting because Frank, who created the Frank box, Matthew Jackson, who was at Posttown with us and has all those, great devices, was telling me this. He first developed those boxes to communicate with aliens.
Mm.
And then someone specifically ordered one saying, we want that same thing, but for ghosts. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. So he made it. And he says, it sounds different, even though I made it exactly the same way. It sounds different because the intention that went into the box maybe was different. But so now it seems like, these investigations that used to be about one very specific thing or maybe one or two now can be so many different things. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm thinking it's like the opposite of evolution, which is a strange thing to think about.
Yeah. Devolution.
Devolution,
Devolution.
devolution,
Well,
devil. Did you just
what's
say
fun?
devolution? Oh my God,
Devolution.
I
That's how
knew
you
all this
go.
stuff was the work of the devil. What were you going to say?
Well, there's the other part of this too that is, I hate this phrase, the veil is getting thinner, because it isn't a veil. It isn't like a curtain that wears away like my moldy shower curtain, but it's, you know what I mean? Like I think there are other beings that either weren't bothering with us or we weren't bothering with them. And now all of a sudden they're right there. And it's that funny phrase, the more you look into the paranormal, the more it looks back at you. Like, for example, I have episodes and episodes on Fae and people that have seen Fae and this and that. And it's like that wouldn't even have been in my vocabulary years ago. And now, like, I actually feel like we're having interactions with Fae where they're mimicking voices and stuff like that. So I think it's also like both worlds got bigger. Our world and their world kind of got closer together.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense to me because if you if you ignore someone for years and years, they're not going to just shout at you or talk to you typically. And then, or if someone's ignoring you, you're not going to seek them out necessarily to talk to them because you might not even be noticing them. and they might not be noticing you. But then when more and more people start noticing this other person in the room, that person obviously you would think would start talking to more people.
Hmm. Yeah.
And uh, so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Thinking about the more attention and the more acknowledgement that that it is getting and that we are giving is a two-way street.
And it's actually not really paranormal anymore. It's becoming more normal to people, and with the, with the things that they do. It was very funny because somebody that I had on my podcast, Serafina Blackman, she's had different experiences with Fae, and she said she was talking about how she kind of got to go to the fairy realm. But one of the most interesting pieces of information that I never thought of is she said, she was like, they don't really want to bother with us, but they're telling us, clean up your mess, clean up your paranormal mess. And I was like, what is that? And she said, our spirits, like our ghosts that aren't passing over and stuff, like that's now we're bleeding into their world, and they're kind of like, get your dirty spirits out of here, get your people.
Yeah, it is. That's really interesting. I do a joke about reincarnation. I love how I prefer the worldview of reincarnation because it's more eco-friendly, sustainable. Like, like reuse, recycle, rebirth.
Yes.
And it does kind of feel like that, like the more and more people that are being born exponentially because of population growth, the more people that are dying, the more, potentially spirits and souls that aren't crossing over. So it's becoming like a traffic jam of clutter, um, which actually
We're
could be
making
a
a
pretty,
paranormal mess.
yeah,
Yeah.
that could actually be a really funny sequel to Beetlejuice. Um, or its own movie altogether. Like, the paranormal cleaners, or people who are just like you got. I mean, because there are darker versions of that. I think like, oh my god, I don't know if you ever saw R.I.P., which is like uh Jeff Bridges and somebody else. It's a movie where they're like the afterlife cops.
Oh
Uh,
no, I should see that.
it's I mean it's all right. Um, but the problem is when people, it's like the premise of the movie is that people will die and then their spirit, they don't realize they're dead, so they don't cross over, and then they start, and so they stay on Earth as these spirits, and then eventually, they can, if they find this right, like collection of stones and stuff, right, they can kind of like bring back all of the undead to Earth, and it can cross over into a world where living and dead are all amongst each other, and the dead can take over the world. But it's also a comedy, and like an
Oh,
action movie comedy that is really ridiculous. But so yeah, something like that. But anyway, I forget. I got lost on a
we
Jeff
got
Bridges
sidetracked.
tangent.
Oh, well, I do think it's funny that over in the fairy realm, there's a whole bunch of people standing there going, "Where am I?" And the fairies are like, get out."
Yeah, that does seem like it makes me wonder, like, they say ignorance is bliss. I wonder if that like translates over into like the spirit realm, where you're just kind of like, oh, this is pretty over here. And then, it does kind of make me, I don't want to, sad's a kind of a strong word, but like sad to think that we are so good at littering and being wasteful
Yes.
that it crosses over into that realm.
Well, it's the other thing. It was funny the way she said, because she said when she went over there, there was like a marketplace. I wonder if there's speciesism, like, like some of the fae are like, oh, we hate trolls. Trolls are just dirty. They smell funny, like we don't, leprechauns, all right, trolls, oh. But she said they had like a marketplace and stuff. And then that kind of depressed me, because I just think they're probably doing something fabulous over there. But no, still state fair in the fairy world, still
Yeah.
just buying things. I guess that's every dimension. We're just going to buy more things.
Yeah, that is depressing. And then like they're like, oh, we got to book troll Kenny Chesney or no one's going to come.
We got fairy
Like,
Amazon.
yeah, that is kind of depressing to think of that. I mean, my guess is that, I don't know. I think in a perfect world in my mind, because I'm kind of a socialist to say the least, is that in a perfect world, commerce isn't the umbrella over everything. So like people love to like grow their own food and, help their neighbors and trade and all that kind of stuff. So maybe the marketplace is more of a kind of a swap meet than it is, we got to make money to pay our Fay mortgage. To
Yes,
the Fay banks.
our fairy hills, our mortgage to the hills.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I'm wondering though if talking about this like, journey through and like, how to stay excited and if there's ever been moments where you're just, well, I mean, I think we've all had moments in our life where we're just like, you know what, this is, I think I need to, not necessarily pump the brakes, but I mean, because your fairy attachment story is pretty intense, and there's multiple ways for people who have been listening to this show or yours to go and find that, which I highly recommend people go do. um but I mean, I think do you think there's a danger of this world exploding, which it has been over the last 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that with that comes inherent danger for people who are, I don't know, not maybe not quite yet taking it seriously, and or just think it's a lot of fun, even though I would argue that maybe all of us don't take it seriously enough until something bad happens, which, I don't think anybody is above having their hand on the stovetop.
Yeah, well, it's also very interesting because during the day I read tarot cards. So I'm kind of, everything I do is pretty peripheral, paranormal, ish. Everything kind of, there's some element of not the normal world in my life. And I do think sometimes just your 3D world comes crashing down to take you away from it, because we do get pretty lackadaisical. I like to watch this. There's Bishop James Long. He's on TikTok, and he's been on a lot of the ghost shows and stuff. He's a great investigator, and he's a real exorcist for the Catholic Church. And sometimes I like to watch him. He's old school. He's Tommy's, careful. This is not, we're not fooling around here. And sometimes I do like to watch that as sort of a warning. Yeah, we just start running into places without thinking. And we can get, it really like that. I mean, Tommy always says everybody has to make their mistakes, but it does get, I think we can get way too lackadaisical about it. Or even out here, like I had so much trouble, this place I moved into, that which is connected to all the stories that it was, the mafia owned this house. We're in Utica, where there were all the murders of the Bob and everything. The Underground Railroad went through here. And the place was literally kind of scary. And then I did an offering. Tommy said, do an offering to the Native Americans in the land. And it was almost like the next day, all the fear went out of this whole apartment. And I think we do get so sort of like overstimulated by it that we can forget these are you got to be honorable, you got to do stuff like that. But I do also feel, I don't know if I'm answering this question correctly, but I do feel like the 3D world tends to pull us in, whether it is, getting COVID or suddenly having to move or whatever. I do think that it is good to take a break from the paranormal and make sure you're still grounded in this world.
Yeah. And I think, stand-up comedy also affords both of us that option. Just the like we were talking about earlier, just the day-to-day, the travel, the nuts and bolts of getting to the show, which is 80% of stand-up comedy, is
Yeah.
just getting to the gig, and finding the hotel or the house or finding a place to sleep or et cetera, and worrying, and like, oh, am I gonna have time to eat before the show?
Is my car going to break down? Did I hit a deer? Yeah.
Yeah.
You usually know when you hit a deer, but
Yeah.
you might ask
I
that.
Oh man, I've been so lucky with the car aspect of, my most recent car. I just hit over 200,000 miles on it.
Wow.
I mean, I bought it with like 40,000, so I've put about 200 on it. And on this last trip with my buddy Dave Stone, we were driving through like a toll place, one of those ones where it's like just slow down. They take a picture of your license plate or whatever, and then mail you something. And like a truck's metal like gas cap was like right in the middle where you couldn't, there was nowhere to go because you've got the toll booth on the left, you got the toll booth on the right. There's just nowhere to go by the time you see it. Because the person in front of me was a truck, so they didn't care because their car clears it. And I'm just like, I see it, and I'm just like, oh, we're fucked. And then boom, and like, I don't think I've ever had a louder noise when I've run something over. And I was like,
Ugh.
oh, my car's done. And then, it's that moment of like, you just kind of keep driving and like, fingers crossed. You're like, if I ignore it, maybe it never happened. And then, it ended up getting very lucky. And I don't think it did any damage to the car because we were fine, because this was up in Philadelphia area where this happened. But um, you, but I think it kind of like speaks to like well, if I ignore this thing, maybe it never happened, or maybe it'll go away, right? Which we know
Well,
is not the case.
no, but I agree with you. I drove my car from California to New York. I think I'm at 150,000 and I plan on it going 300,000. I once had a little Nissan truck that the odometer broke at 300,000 and I drove it for another 3 years. And I just, I can't, I have this thing. This is probably my superstition, but I don't know. Every time I get in my car, I say, I love you. Like I say,
Mhm.
I love, that's why I can't have a printer in the house. I don't get along with printers and I hate them and we don't work together well. I have to go somewhere and print someone else's. But I will get in my car every day and tap it and go, "You have not left me. You have been so relaxed." Like I've been in fact, that was the hardest thing when I moved here was retiring the California plates. I couldn't let them go. Also because the plates just randomly came up with EVP was three what it said on the front of my license plate. But I almost cried when California was like, they're like, just destroy your plates and you don't have to send them back. And I was like, oh, thank you for letting me keep my plates.
Yeah, that's so funny though. Like thinking about like, oh, Karen is like, she loves everybody except, don't get her started about printers. She hates printer. Like what? Oh yeah, she won't.
Yeah,
She won't. What about
don't bring
fax
it there.
machines? Oh, she loves fax machines,
Those are
but
fine.
there's something about the print. No, I
And I swear to God, I have broken printers from being angry with them across the room. Like
oh,
I
some
have
real EVP, or not EVP, some real,
poltergeists.
yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I need a printer once a year. And the fact that I can't buy a printer that will work once a year makes me crazy, makes me lose my shit. So I'm not going to have them anymore.
So you don't have any problems with printers at other places.
No. Well, they seem to be okay, except this is a weird story. I don't know why I printed something at Staples, and apparently now they charge you for the best paper. I printed this scrap stuff on $300 paper or something. So no, those ones are okay because those don't belong to me. But that frequency. Like I do think a car settles into how you drive it.
Hmm.
So my car knows when I'm going to accelerate. You know what I mean? Like just the machinery of it goes, okay, this is the rhythm that we work at. We know when she's mad, we're going to go this fast or something. But I do feel like, just like I feel like with our food, if we say I love you to our food, or if we kind of bless our food or pray over it, we become on the same frequency with it. We get more nutrition out of it. I absolutely believe that about mechanical things. If we love them, this was actually in the paranormal class that I took. They said, was real study, people that loved computers had less trouble with computers. People that hated computers always had something wrong, or a virus or something like that. It was literally like the frequency of computers do react. Like, I love an iPad. I own 3 iPads. I can't, like, I love an iPad and the iPad loves me.
Well, there is an interesting symbiosis that maybe starts occurring, if that's even the right word. But and there is like ancient, I mean, not ancient, but I mean, you know, people naming their cars and loving their cars or other things goes back forever. And I think there's a
Mhm.
reason why those stories exist, is because I think there's something to it. And I'm the same way with my car. I thank it every time, I mean, I sometimes I forget, but I like to thank my car for being so careful with me and taking
Yeah.
such good care of me, and um always ensuring that I arrive safe, alive and safe. And um, yeah, I think I do a pretty good job of, showering my car with affection to some degree. Um,
Well,
and I,
too, out here, like in LA, I don't know if technically LA is more dangerous. I feel more dangerous out here. In LA, your car breaks down, there's always a tow truck, there's always something, but I'm out here in nowhere, and half of these gigs at night are driving, and there's deer in the road, and it's one thing after another. And I do worry, like, I do literally think, what if I get stuck in the middle of the night, what do I do?
yeah, yeah, there is. I don't think, like, I know for you can always tell by the price of your insurance. Because even if you move, like when I moved from Glendale to Culver City, my insurance went way down. And I was like,
Mm,
how is this possible? I moved like 11 miles away to another part of LA, but Glendale is the most expensive neighborhood. I
oh,
think it might be the most expensive, one of the most expensive cities in the United States to have car insurance. Um, but I
mm,
think it's all about population density mostly, more than about safety
yeah.
when it comes to the price. But I think there definitely really is something to, having, uh, you know, I don't want to say a relationship with, but definitely expressing and showing love towards things. And it kind of speaks to the idea that, everything is alive, even if it doesn't have lungs, right? It still has an energy and a vibration to it, right?
Haven't you ever had that car you had bad mojo with, where everything went wrong? Like, you couldn't do anything. Like, I've had that car too, but that's why I feel like I buy them new now. I don't want anyone else's goo on my car.
I
Yeah.
wonder if there's a way to figure out like the astrological sign of a car, like when it came off the assembly line.
I bet there is, well, I feel lucky with big purchases like that usually. Like, this was just, it wasn't even the car I wanted, and it was on the lot, and I can't do big things like that. The guy was like, my father's like, tell him 13,000. And so I was like, 13,000, and I hung up the phone, and then they were like, yes, and then it was like, I think I bought the car. I don't know, but I really can't. This is the only time, like, I'm seriously like, I need a man to just go, it's just a car, just buy a car, just buy a car, it's gonna be fine. But I can't do big purchases or big commitment. But it's funny that you said that, because I could never get my car insurance down. I never hit anything. I had no accidents in LA, and the car insurance just kept going up and up. And then I moved here, and it was like a quarter. It was less than a quarter of what it was out there. And then I also had an accident, and it was my fault, and it was in a parking lot. And this, of course, is a huge trauma, because in LA, that's like, you're going to get another $500 a year for 10 years. It's just crazy. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to raise your insurance. You just hit a car. That's what we do. So now I'm hitting everyone. It's really quite good out here.
I'm like, oh, this is a perk that I could really lean into. It turns out,
Well, I
your car
this is
loves the contact.
this is the most amazing thing. I have to complain, because I my joke out here in Utica is that the mysterious lights in the sky. People, the red ones mean stop. Why there is not a cop on every corner making $1 million. People just go right through a red light. Sometimes they stop and look and then go through it. Sometimes they just go through it. I've never seen, like, I would ride my bike in 4 lanes of traffic in LA and be safer than 1 lane of traffic out here. I don't know if everyone's hypnotized by the snow or what, but we have no respect for traffic lights out here.
Oh, wow. We're running out of time.
Okay.
Because of, we've got these like waking lives that we're living. But we do need to real quick plug, we've got a couple minutes left. We are going to be at the Cambry House.
Yes.
In Illinois on, let me find the exact
14th, 15th, 15th, 16th.
Yeah, 14th, 15. 14th is the Friday, 15th is the Saturday. And we're going to be.
I think my whole thing is so late. I probably won't be around much on Friday, but Saturday I think we're doing a show, right? Show and investigation.
Yeah, we're doing I don't think we've given the details specifically about what we're doing. I mean, I think you and I are both still trying to figure out exactly what our preferred, like, show type thing is going to be, which obviously is probably going to, obviously comedy is going to be involved. And
I'm really trying to get the psychic stand-up out there. So there'll be a psychic stand-up part, and hopefully you can help me with the questions and pick on the people in the audience.
Of course. And so, but I don't know if tickets are available for that yet. We'll have to talk to Rebecca, but as soon as they're available, I'll be getting them up on the website and everything else. But you'll hear more information about that from Karen and I. We're really excited about doing this. This is like a show we've been wanting to do something like this for 3 or 4 years at least now. So we're gonna get out there and do that, and and potentially some other things maybe later in the year, depending on. Because I think I've got some bites to tell you about for that. Because I'm trying to just do some storytelling shows when it
I think that's amazing. Paranormal. That's a perfect thing for you. Also, we really should do a thing at Postdown.
That's a good idea. But this thing's getting ready to we're getting ready to be out of here, so
everyone drive safe.
Everyone drive safe. Paranormal Karen's the podcast. What's the Twitter handle?
Everything is at Rontowski. Also Patreon at Rontowski. Extra podcasts, Learn Tarot, all the banana stuff, all that stuff.
Awesome.
I don't know why I said banana.
And I'm sure we'll do this again soon. Yes. As always, we love Karen over here.
And ditto, my friend. I can't wait to work.